Today, we're going through the fast-growing tree species you'll run into on inspections across Southern California. Species that can put on roughly 3 to 8 feet of new growth in a year under good conditions. For each one, we'll cover why it's a species to watch, a little background, and how to identify it. Why some trees grow so fast. Before we go through the list, it helps to understand why these species exist at all. Fast-growing species are what ecologists call pioneer species. Trees evolved to colonize open, sunny, disturbed ground quickly, out-competing everything around them for access to light. To grow that fast, they prioritize rapid cell division and expansion over building dense, thick-walled wood. The result is large cells, thin cell walls, and low wood density. Here's why that matters for you in the field. Research consistently shows a strong negative correlation between growth rate and wood density. The faster a species grows, the weaker and lighter its wood tends to be. That's not true in every single case, but it's true often enough that it should change your default assumption. A fast-growing tree isn't just going to reach your clearance zone sooner, it's often more likely to fail once it gets there, through limb drop or trunk failure, because the wood simply wasn't built for long-term structural strength. Slow-growing species invest in density and structural integrity. Fast growers invest in speed. Keep that trade-off in mind as we go through each species. It's the thread that connects all of them. Eucalyptus. A fast grower inspectors need to watch closely. Brought over from Australia in the 1800s during a timber speculation boom that never panned out. The wood wasn't good for milling, but millions of trees were already planted and naturalized across the state. It's known for dropping large limbs without warning, even in calm weather. And it regrows aggressively from a cut stump, so a hard prune doesn't slow it down for long. On top of the clearance risk, its oil-rich leaves and long strips of shedding bark make it one of the more fire-prone species you'll encounter, which is part of why it's frequently flagged in wildfire mitigation planning. It's identified by long, narrow, blue-gray leaves with a strong menthol smell when crushed, smooth bark that peels in long ribbons, and woody seed capsules. Ash. A fast grower and one of the most widely planted street and shade trees in the region. Southern California utilities specifically name ash, alongside eucalyptus, as a species they discourage planting near power lines because of how fast it grows. Two species dominate locally: chamois ash, native to Mexico and Central America, and valued for staying greener longer, and Arizona or Modesto ash, native to the desert Southwest and prized for tolerating heat, cold, and smog. The Modesto cultivar was actually developed in the Central Valley city it's named for. It's identified by compound leaves with several leaflets opposite each other on the stem, gray furrowed bark, broad rounded canopy, and the Modesto ash turns bright gold in fall. Jacaranda. A fast grower worth watching. Best known for its brilliant purple-blue bloom every spring. Brought here as an ornamental from subtropical South America specifically for that display. If it isn't structurally pruned young, it commonly develops multiple codominant stems with included bark. A hidden weak point even on a tree that looks full and healthy. The jacaranda is identified by its fine, fern-like compound leaves, smooth grayish-brown bark, trumpet-shaped lavender flowers, and small woody seed pods after bloom. Chinese elm. A fast grower, common as a street and yard tree, valued for fast establishment and resistance to Dutch elm disease, the same disease that devastated American elm populations elsewhere in the country. It's known for weaker wood and a tendency toward included bark at branch unions. Common failure points as the tree gains size faster than its structure can fully support. It's identified by mottled, flaking bark in patches of gray, green, orange, and brown, often compared to camouflage, and small, glossy, serrated leaves. Tree of Heaven, also known as Ailanthus, a fast grower and the one to really pay attention to. Invasive, introduced from China in the late 1700s as an ornamental, prized for growing almost anywhere, including poor urban soil. The same trait that made it a serious invasive problem nationwide. It resprouts aggressively after a cut, often coming back thicker and faster than before. Removal generally requires a specific treatment protocol beyond a standard cut. Ailanthus is identified by large compound leaves with smooth-edged leaflets, strong, unpleasant odor when crushed, and smooth gray bark, sometimes compared to cantaloupe skin. Cottonwood. This is one of the fastest growing trees native to California, and one you'll run into constantly along creeks, washes, and any circuit that crosses a riparian corridor. It needs a steady water source, so if you ever see one, there's water nearby. It's historically important to indigenous communities in the Southwest for carving, and easily propagated for cuttings, which is part of why it's so common along irrigation channels and drainage areas. The wood is notably soft, brittle, and quick to decay, so mature cottonwoods are prone to dropping large limbs even when the tree otherwise looks healthy. A real hazard combination when paired with how fast it grows into a clearance zone. It's identified by nearly triangular to heart-shaped leaves, with a flattened leaf stalk that causes them to shimmer and rustle in the wind. Smooth, pale gray bark when young, becoming deeply furrowed with age, and cottony seed masses carried on the wind in spring. Sycamore. Like cottonwood, a true California native you'll find constantly along creeks, washes, and riparian corridors. The two often grow side by side. It's genuinely fast-growing, not just moderate, and tends to develop multiple trunks or a leaning, twisting form rather than one clean central leader, which is worth factoring into hazard assessment, since that growth habit creates more potential failure points than a single trunk tree. It's also commonly affected by anthracnose, a fungal disease that can cause significant leaf drop and dieback after a wet spring. So a thin, patchy canopy on a sycamore isn't automatically a structural red flag, but it's worth a closer look either way. The sycamore is identified by large, palmate leaves with 3 to 5 pointed lobes, resembling a big maple leaf. Distinctive mottled bark that peels in patches of white, tan, gray, and pale brown, and small fuzzy seed balls that hang on the tree through winter. And one more to know, mimosa. It's a fast grower with weak, brittle wood, fern-like leaves, and pink pom-pom flowers in summer. Like a few others on this list, it tolerates poor soil and readily self-seeds, which is why it keeps popping up along fence lines and disturbed ground. Even if a tree is at acceptable clearance right now, it should still be prescribed for trimming if you judge it to likely grow into or break compliance before the next cycle. Fast growth generally comes with weaker wood. Don't assume no visible defect means no risk. Watch for included bark on co-dominant species like Jacaranda and Chinese elm. Same clearance zone, different risk profile. These species didn't end up in Southern California by accident. Know them, watch for them, and treat them with the urgency their growth rate earns.